What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Riffs Rasslin, where we talk about everything heavy metal and pro wrestling all in one spot. My name is Willie, and of course, we are joined by my brother Nick. What's up, man?
What up, brother, and what's going on, everybody out there?
We're back at it, man. We got a pretty exciting show, kind of piggybacking off of a series that seems to be doing for ourselves here. But before we get into it, of course, go to X, go to Instagram. Follow us there at Riffs Rasslin. Subscribe here on YouTube. Comment below what you like, what you didn't like. If you want to see anything in the future episodes, holler at us. We want to take it all in. And Nick, you got something you want to add, right?
Yeah, dude. The last episode that we did on this podcast was talking about debut albums between Nirvana and Alice in Chains. And I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who tuned into that episode, because that is one of the bigger episodes that we've done as far as viewer count goes and engagement goes. And thank you to everybody out there who tuned in for that. And thank you for your comments on the episode that we did. And we had a lot of fun with it, and we hope that you enjoyed it too. But I just want to say personally, thank you to everybody out there who tuned into that episode, because it means a lot when people engage with us and tune in and hear what we got to say over here, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely something special. I don't know how YouTube worked it out and how you found it. If you found it just because you searched something and it came up, or you found it just because it popped up some random moment, But regardless of how you found it, glad you all did find it, and glad that some of you stuck around and are watching this today.
Yeah, and
And
also too, however you found out about that episode, let us know. Hit us up in a message on X, on Instagram, comment on YouTube, whatever it is, however you found the podcast. And like Willie said, did you search for something in particular and we popped up? Did we come up on your feed on X or Instagram? Like, let us know so we know what engagements are working and what we continue to do, because feedback is key when trying to grow a podcast such as this.
absolutely, we've been doing this for I think over about 2 months now,
I can't believe
consistently.
that already.
And yeah, we just keep putting them out, and hope you all keep enjoying it. And if this is your first time checking us out, welcome. If this is your second time, welcome back. But yeah, I think today, as you can all tell from the title, we're going to focus again on Nick's career as a pro wrestler. If you guys haven't seen the first episode where we kind of laid down the blueprint of his career, you can check that out right here up top. And if you haven't seen the last episode where we talked about how to book a wrestling show based on Nick's prior experience and knowledge, you can check that out right here as well. But on today's episode, we're going to focus solely on training. That's right, training to become a professional wrestler. You excited for that one, Nick?
Oh yeah, dude, because it's so easy to train to be a wrestler, dude. Like all you got to do is like, watch a few things online and go out in your backyard and do some fucking flips, dude. It's so easy.
Well, you need a backyard first.
True. If you don't have a backyard, then just use your fucking mattress in the room.
Oh, wrong show again, Nick.
Fuck, man. I always walk into those, dude.
Every fucking episode, bro.
I'm telling you, bro. I got a bad habit for that. But yeah, PSA announcement. Kids out there watching this episode, do not go out in the backyard and do that stupid shit. Do not do that on your mattress, because your parents will get mad at you.
And just don't fuck up your entire life by breaking your fucking neck. That too.
Yeah, that could suck.
Yeah, but as you all should be aware now, if you've been following us, Nick was a professional wrestler for how long again, Nick?
About altogether about 14 years, give or take.
14 years. That's a fucking while, man. And yeah, we're just gonna jump into your training and how that all came about. And I think the first question I have for you, Nick, is I think now, of course, is different than back then. We've been talking about that the previous episodes about just about everything, right? Just about everything, how you came up and how people are coming up now. The landscape of professional wrestling is pretty dramatically different from what it was 20, 30 years ago, right? So I want you to explain how you found a wrestling school, and then after you explain that, how are people finding wrestling schools now?
Okay, so we touched on that a little bit on the last episode that we did of my career in pro wrestling, on how to book a show and all that. And even back with that too, with the first episode that we did on my career as a pro wrestler. But the short of it is I found pro wrestling school because I went to an independent show in Northern Arizona where I was living at the time. Honky Tonk Man was advertised for the show. I ended up attending the show. I saw like flyers for it posted around town that there was an independent show going on. I didn't even know at that time what the hell an independent show was. I just like saw pro wrestling, was like shit on there, you know. So I showed up, and the company that was putting on the show was Impact Zone Wrestling, IZW, out of Phoenix, Arizona. I attended the show, got front row. During intermission, Joey, not Joey, what the hell is the dude's name? That's the ring announcer for AEW now. We talked about it before. Anyway, that dude,
Yeah.
he happened to be the ring announcer for this show as well. It just goes to show you how far back I go. And they talked about that we're Impact Zone Wrestling. We have a school in Phoenix. If you want to come check it out, come check it out. So that's how I discovered my first pro wrestling school, because back when I came up, it was a protected business. It wasn't advertised, hey, come over here and train to be a wrestler. It was almost by like invite only. You know, if you were at a gym working out and you had a pretty good size to you, and there was some wrestlers who were in town for a show and they happened to peek over and take a look at you, like, hey, dude, this dude's got some size to him. Let's go talk to him. And they come over to you and say, hey, you ever thought about wrestling? Well, no, or yeah, I just don't know where to go. Well, hey, you know, come on over to the show tonight and we'll introduce you to everybody. You know, that's pretty much how you broke in back in the day. It
Yeah.
was such a protected business that, you know, things were on the low key. When I broke into it, it was the balance of both. You know, you had still the people who protected it, and then still it was like the business was being exposed for what we know it now to be. So I came in right in the transition of both of those. So that's how I found out about my first pro wrestling school that I ever attended, was that independent show.
Um, just briefly, you
Justin
just
Roberts. Sorry, Justin
oh
Roberts.
yeah, that's
That's
who
the
it
ring
is.
announcer. I knew he was gonna fucking hit me in the ass.
That motherfucker. All right. You kind of touched on a little bit that I want to kind of piggyback on you. You said the business was starting to unfold and wasn't as protective as it was. Why do you think that was? What happened?
There was a couple things actually on the mainstream side. You had Vince McMahon in '97, I think it was, come out on Monday Night Raw and said that we're not going to insult your intelligence anymore. You know, there's no more good guys versus bad guys. This is sports entertainment. So he pretty much gave it away right there to the mass public that, you know, this is an entertainment show. It's not legit, you know, so to speak. And then you had other shows on specials, like on NBC, I think it was like the Secrets of Pro Wrestling or some shit. And they gave it away of like, you know, the eye rake across the top rope, the
Mm,
folding chair, you know, people talking into the ring to each other, except for the next spots. I mean, at that time, like 98, 99, 2000, it was really starting to become more mainstream of how pro wrestling was much more entertainment than it was a legitimate sport.
yeah,
So when I got into it, it was still the balance of like people who came in from my generation of like the mid to late 90s that were like, you know, this shit is real. It's 100% what it is. And then on the flip side of it, you had these other newcomers coming in that already knew it, that it was a work, and that the business was like pretty much exposing itself for what it was, and it wasn't as protected anymore, which I kind of felt insulting to myself when I first got into it, because I went into my very first school, pro wrestling school, thinking still to myself that this was 100% legit. And then when
right.
I was like pretty much, you know, shown and told of what the business actually was, I was kind of disheartened at first, but my love for the sport, like, still was so high that it didn't matter to me that it was, you know, exposed me in the way that the business actually is, because I just
Yeah,
loved it so much.
right. That makes sense. Do you think the internet played a big part too?
Not at that time, not yet.
No.
The internet was out, but it was still in its infancy. Now, don't get me wrong, there were still messaging boards like Pro Wrestling, PW1, I think was one of them. You had Dave Meltzer's bullshit that he does too. So there was dirt sheets out there already that were, you know, telling you, you know, this show, this person won on this show, this person's going over here, this guy might jump from this company to this company. But as far as like hardcore breaking it down of 100%, it was fixed and like it was an entertainment show, the internet really didn't play much of a role in that aspect as of yet. That more came in like maybe like the mid 2000s, you know, like maybe
Yeah,
05, 06, 07.
right. That makes sense. Well, shit, man. Yeah, we talked about, so basically you went to a independent show and then you saw some flyers and then you kind of went from there and that's how you found the school that you decided to train at.
Yep. Yep. And
Hmm.
it was a godsend, dude, because I was foaming at the mouth, man, trying to find a way to get into the pro wrestling business. And at that time, dude, I was, you know, still young. I was maybe 17, 16, 17, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't know shit from fuck, you know, on how to contact anybody, you know, what to do. I do remember watching old episodes. I say old now, but current at that time. WCW Monday Nitro episodes, dude, and they would show commercials for their power plant, which was
Oh
their pro
yeah.
wrestling school. And I wanted to go so bad, dude. I was like, dude, I need to be there. Little did I know that that was a land of giants that I was going to be walking into if I did go. You know what I mean? You'd
Yep.
have guys in there that were the size of like Bill Goldberg's and shit,
Right.
and I'm nowhere near that size at that time. Never was at that size. And but that's how much I wanted to get into the business and how much I needed to get into the business, dude. So when I found that independent show in Northern Arizona and I attended it and they said flat out, we got a pro wrestling school, all my spidey senses went off, dude. And I was like, I gotta fucking be there, dude. This is what I have to do.
Absolutely. Then fucking you did it. You went there and you fucking trained.
I did. I got in that ring, stepped in that ring for the first time. I remember when I first walked into the building, it was in a big ass warehouse, right? And I walked in, and Ultimate Warrior had his pro wrestling school going on at the same time too in Phoenix. It was Warrior Wrestling or some shit like that was going on, but he was known as a guy that would take your money and not train you,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a bad rap in town. So when IZW Impact Zone Wrestling, shout out to everybody out there who's old school like me and knows who Impact Zone Wrestling is, Navajo Warrior and the rest of them. Um, when I got into IZW, a lot of the kids that were coming over from Warriors Wrestling School were coming over as well. And, I was hearing all this shit. I remember at the time, I've never stepped foot in the ring ever. And I remember walking into that warehouse and seeing the big ass fucking ring in the middle of this warehouse. And I was like, oh my God, that's the Mecca. That's where
Yeah.
all the magic takes place.
Right.
I'm still green as shit. I don't know anything. All I know
No.
is about what I watched on TV and that one independent show that I went to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And going into this warehouse and seeing this ring set up in the middle, I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, type
Right.
shit. And then I'm hearing all these bad things about Ultimate Warrior and his training school and everything else, which at the time I didn't even know he had a training school
Right.
until I showed up to IZW. And then all these guys were coming in from his school, and the Warrior was shutting down his place because he just wasn't running it right. And it was just a trip to me, like, oh my God, Ultimate Warrior, the guy that I watched on TV, has a school too. Like, what world am I walking into? What I mean? Like, this is
Exactly.
different.
Yeah, it is.
But I walked in, I saw that ring, and we all stood up on the outside of the ring, and they brought us in one by one, and did a few drills and whatnot, and it was just from then on, dude. It was just I knew what I wanted to do before I got there, but once I got in that ring and took my first bump, hit the ropes for the first time, I was like, you know what, I'm in
Yeah.
heaven. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely. That's fucking great, man. Let's jump into the beginning stages of training. You're brand new. You walk into a school. What are they going to be having you do right off the bat?
So right off the bat is you're going to do the basics, which is you're going to take a flat back bump, which is where you hit the mat, flat back, palms out, tack the mat. Make sure that you tuck your chin and don't hold your breath, because if you don't tuck your chin and if you hold your breath, you're fucked. So tuck your chin, don't hold your breath, and take that first flat back bump. Then once you got that down a couple of times, you're going to get up and you're going to do a full rotation bump, which is you're going to do stand up on your feet. And you're going to do a full flip off your feet into a rotation into a flat back bump. And then once you do that, you're going to get up and you're going to run the ropes a couple of times. And then once they see that you can kind of get that down, then they start to move on to some other stuff, into the lockups and the headlocks and stuff like that. But right off the bat, you got to know how to bump. You got to know how to bump, and you got to know how to hit those ropes. Because if you don't know how to do those, then you ain't going to move on to anything else.
Now, will they teach you all that? So you walk in and you're fresh off the fucking boat, right? And you go through the fucking ropes and you're in the ring and they're like, take a bump. Will they show you how?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Any good wrestling school is going to do that. If you have somebody out there, this goes to all you youngsters out there thinking about getting into wrestling. If you go to whatever school that's not accredited by somebody that it's somebody that you see on TV or somebody that can be, spoken for. If you go to whatever run of the mill school that you have no idea who this person is, and the first thing they tell you is, do this dive off the top rope or, do this crazy shit, you're in the wrong school. You got to get the fuck out. And if you go to a school and they tell you to take a flat back bump, and they don't show you how to do a flat back bump, you're in the wrong school. Get the fuck out. So yeah,
Yeah.
everything is demonstrated to you at first and it's broken down to you, and then you attempt to do it.
Just for those people out there that don't know, when you take your first bump, how good does it feel?
It sucks. It absolutely sucks because you have no idea exactly how your body's going to react. You don't know what to do with your body. You might see somebody like explain it to you and demonstrate it, but until you do it yourself, you're going to have no fucking idea what
Yeah.
that's going to do to your body. And that first bump that you take, absolutely fucking sucks. The wind gets knocked out of you, even though you didn't hold your breath. You're gonna smack your head somehow, some way, even though you tucked your chin, and you're gonna hurt your elbow somehow, some way. It sucks. And that first bump you're gonna take, you're gonna be like, "Do I really want to do this?" That
Yeah,
second bump you take, "Do I really want to do this?" And it's not until
right,
you take multiple bumps that you start to get, callous to it that you're
right.
like comfortable with it.
Yeah. Running the ropes. I don't think a lot of people would ever guess that running a ropes fucking hurts too.
Yes, it does because those are not ropes; those are steel cables wrapped in tape, duct tape. Um, so when you're hitting those ropes, so to speak, you're hitting full on, literally steel cables about this thick, wrapped in duct tape that have like a foam over the top of them and then wrapped in duct tape. So when you're hitting those ropes, you're hitting straight on fucking steel fucking cable that's bouncing you from one end of the ring to the other. So yeah, those ain't ropes, brother. Those are
No,
steel cables and they hurt.
and they will leave some marks on your body. That's for
Yes,
sure.
they will. Yep, 100%.
Okay, so you taking a bump. You ran the ropes. What's next? Like, let's say you got in there. They're like, okay, you can take a fucking bump, right? You can run the ropes, right? Like, what is the next on the fucking schedule?
So yeah, so when you take your first bump and you run the ropes, you're not just doing it one or two times. You're doing it multiple times, right? You're going to do it 100 to 150 times, taking that flat back bump. Once you hit that ropes, you're coming off. You're doing 3 steps, right, across the ring. 1, 2, 3. Third one, you're going to do a pivot, right arm over the top rope, shoot off, go back across the ring. 1, 2, 3. On that third step, you're going to pivot again, right arm over the top rope, and you're going to shoot off. Once you demonstrate that you can do that 100 to 150 times and all that good stuff, then the next steps in your training process would be, okay, let's show you a headlock, let's show you the lockup, let's show you all those fundamentals to start off a match. But even before all that, you're going to get into your rolls. You're going to do 2 front rolls, 2 back rolls, a quarter roll left, quarter roll right, and then you're going to put them all together. You're going to do front roll, back roll, quarter, 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 and then you're going to go into the turnbuckle, run up. You're gonna do your little kip up on the turnbuckle, put your legs up, come down, opposite side, legs up, come down, opposite side. It's a ball buster, you know what I mean? It's a ball buster. But once you understand the fundamentals of all that and why that's put together and why you're doing all that, then it all makes sense to when you start putting more training involved. Of now you've elevated from a lockup to a headlock takeover, and then from there, what do you do? All these drills that you're doing at the very beginning of your basic training is going to make sense later on as you start to put together your repertoire, as you start to put together all the training that you've done, and everything is making sense to you as to why you're doing it to make a match later on. Everything is for a reason. It's not just to do it, just to do it. Everything makes sense in the long run.
Yeah, fucking just by you explaining that, I feel like I'm blown up already. So explain how important cardio is.
If you think you have good cardio, let's say that you're a marathon runner or you're a sprint track runner and all this, and you think you have really good cardio, step into the ring for the first time, hit them ropes for a good 2-3 minutes solid. Your cardio sucks. There's one thing to have good gym cardio. There's one thing to have good track cardio, but there's another thing to have ring cardio, because in the ring you're in a confined space, whether it's a 15 by 15, an 18 by 18, or 20 by 20. You're in that confined space, and it's a constant movement. Whether you're hitting ropes, you're locking up, you're punching, you're kicking, you're being body slammed, everything is a movement. Everything is cardio based. So if you think you have good cardio now, get in for a good session, for a good 1 or 2 hour session of pro wrestling training, and you'll find out that your cardio is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, and I don't even think it matters how young or old you are.
Nope.
Just from my little bit of rolling around in the ring, I was like fucking 16 and I was blown the fuck up. And I
I
was
remember that
16.
day. Yep, I remember
It
that.
it's hard. It's fucking hard. It really does work out your fucking heart and your lungs like nothing else
Yep.
does.
Yep, there's a reason why it's called blow up drills, man. Because once you start doing those drills at the beginning, you're blown the fuck up. I would have guys when I graduated on in my career and I became a head trainer. I would have guys come in from the MMA world, the boxing world, and they would come in talking all this shit, how fit and fantastic they were, and everything else. Which they were. Don't get me wrong, they were. But once you get into a pro wrestling ring, and you start doing the pro wrestling drills, then you find out that yeah, maybe your cardio wasn't as good as you thought it was.
Right. That's for fucking sure.
I'd have MMA guys in the corner fucking puking after just like a 30-minute fucking warm up session that we all do at the beginning of the fucking training
Yeah.
session. They're in the
Right?
corner puking already. Like, hey,
Good luck.
yeah,
Are you going to come back or not?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might have 100 guys sign up for day 1. Day 2, you got maybe 60. Day 3, you maybe have 20. And then
Mm-hmm.
day 4, you have like maybe 10. And those are your core 10 that you want to run
Of
with.
course. Yeah. We're going to get into some of that here soon. My next question for you, though, I want you to explain just how important it is to pay attention and execute a bump or move correctly. Um, because I feel like if you don't do any of these simple tasks that you've been taught from day one, you can either get hurt or you can hurt someone else. So just explain how important it is to actually execute what you're doing correctly.
Yeah, you need to pay attention for sure. When you step into the ring for the first time and it's your first training session, you need to pay attention and you need to shut up, stop talking, and listen to your instructor. And hopefully, you have a good instructor. You need to know how to execute a move. You need to understand just something as simple as a headlock. You can poke somebody's eye out. You can gouge somebody's mouth. You can knock a tooth out just by doing a simple lockup. You know, a headlock. If you take somebody over in a headlock takeover, you can dump them on their head and they're paralyzed. You know what I mean? It's simple stuff like that that people watch every day on everyday pro wrestling and take, for granted. Like, oh, it's just so something simple. It's really not, especially when it's your first time in the ring, because what you perceive as something simple is really not. Everything is done and is broken down on a basis of protecting you and your opponent, right? By making it still look legitimate at the same time. That's why it's such a fucking different sport than anything else out there. You got football players that put on a pad, go hit that fucking player. Okay, I'm gonna go hit that player. If he gets hurt, fuck it, I'm gonna go hit him.
Mm-hmm.
And pro wrestling is different because it's entertainment first, right? And then a sport second. So you want to protect yourself, you want to protect your opponent. Everything you do is to protect you and your opponent. When you're doing a basic suplex, you got the guy up in the air. There's a reason why the guy's head is right here on your bicep, because when you guys go backwards and you guys take that suplex, his head is landing right here. His shoulders are going to land on the backside against the ring, against your back of your bicep here, but his head and neck is protected here at all times. Why? Because you don't want to dump a motherfucker on his head and fucking paralyze him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything that we do and did in the ring was, it served a purpose. It wasn't just to just dump your opponent on its head. No, it was, everything was done for a purpose to protect you and your opponent.
Yeah, dude. Fucking there's probably countless of times and stories of everybody that has been in a ring just getting in that ring with that one fuck up that either ruins your life, ruins your career, or just ruins your fucking excitement and hope of becoming something, right? Because they fucked up. They either fucking dropped you on your head or fucking they kicked you in the fucking tooth, right? Like, just can you explain like how important it is also to have a partner in the ring that is just as important and trained as you are?
Yeah, that's 100% important, because you could be as great all day long as you can be in that ring, but at the end of the day, it's who's across the way from you. You got to worry about that person too. A great quote that I'll never forget is Bret Hart on his documentary Wrestling with Shadows. He talked about how when you watch a pro wrestling match, this guy's getting kicked constantly, punched constantly. Well, where's the bumps and bruises, right? You know what I mean? Where's the welts from getting, beat up on all match long? There's not, because it's entertainment. It's an illusion, right? That's how good you have to be in this business for you to impact something, which means land something, whether it's a worked punch, a kick, whatever, to make just enough contact with that person to know when to register and sell it, but not beat the living fuck out of them so they can go back to their fucking wife and child or husband and child at the end of the night. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I will never forget earlier on in my career, I'm demonstrating how to do a tilt the whirl side slam, and I'm doing it with this guy, and he goes up, but he doesn't fully rotate and lands on my fucking arm. My arm and my elbow hit the ring. I hear a pop, and then next thing I know, I tore my fucking rotator cuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was in a ring with a guy who was pretty damn experienced, and we're doing, hold for hold wrestling, which is, I grab a hold, and you reverse into a hold, I reverse into a hold, and he proceeded to give a stiff. He was on his back. He gave a stiff kick upwards. Didn't tell me that he was in a kick to break my hold, to break my release, right? And instead of making it a worked kick to bounce my hands so I know to break the hold, he just goes with the full kick all the way through. My hands break, fucking foot goes right up my mouth, and I lost a fucking tooth I still haven't replaced to this day. You know what
Right.
I mean? So it's very important that you know what you're doing and slow the fuck down and understand what it is that you're trying to do in that ring at any given moment to make sure that what you're doing is correct and that you're not going to fuck up you or your training partner or your opponent if you're in a show. Is very fucking important, dude. I've been lucky enough, fortunate enough that I have never ever injured anybody in the ring of anybody that I was ever in the ring with. I've always been on the receiving end of injuries, concussions,
Right.
torn rotator cuff, tooth knocked out, all you name it, bloody nose, everything. But I've never ever hurt my opponent, and I take great pride in that.
Yeah, man, you fucking should. That means you had respect for the fucking business. You listen when you're being taught, and you also cared about the person that you're working with, which I think a lot of people miss that fucking step because you're not just protecting yourself, you got to protect each other in that fucking ring too.
A lot of these guys are in it for themselves, you know what I mean? They're in it for the vanity, you know. They think they're king shit when they get booked on an indie show and there's 20 people in the audience, you know what I mean? And they're doing all these flippy doos and shit. And I'm not taking anything away from them. You know, you made it, you graduated wrestling training somewhat, you know what I mean? You somewhat know what you're doing. So you should take pride in that. But you know, take yourself down a notch or two and don't walk around like your shit don't stink, because at any given moment, at any given time, you can make that one fuck up and then everything goes to hell from there. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Show me that one guy that can get in that ring that didn't call his fucking match from start to finish in the backstage area with his opponent. Get him in the ring and call everything fucking hold by hold. You know what I mean? Or give me that guy who's called everything in the back of what they're going to do in that ring when the showtime, and they get out there and there's that one misstep that happens. Now the rest of the match is fucked. Now what do you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me those
Right.
guys. Those guys understand what they're doing. They're professionals at what they do, and they're not just in it for fucking vanity. I can't stand
Yep.
that shit.
No, dude, I don't think you should be doing anything for that fucking reason alone. That's a dumb way to fucking live your life. Um, let's talk about trainers. Is there a trainer that stood out to you, and does it matter what trainer it is? Like, does it matter how a trainer trains you?
Yes, 100%. You do not want to go to an indie show where all they're doing is hitting each other with fucking baseball bats and barbed wire. There's a time and place for all that. Don't get me wrong. I have my share of stuff like that too. But if you're going to an independent show and that's all you see that them doing is that garbage wrestling and they have a wrestling school, good luck to you. Do your due diligence, do your homework. If you have a school that's nearby, who's running that school, what's their credentials, what have they done in the business, is it a Johnny come lately, or have they actually accomplished something in wrestling? And it's very important to know that once you step foot in that ring, to have absolute nothing but respect for the men and women that came before you, because now you're taking on hopefully the next set of generation of talent that's going to come through and carry that torch that the rest of them have brought forth before you. You know what I mean? And some of the trainers that stood out to me at the very beginning was guys like Navajo Warrior from IZW, who went on to work for WWE. He did a lot of like dark matches and like did a lot of jobs for a lot of the guys on dark matches and whatnot, but then he actually went to work for WWE in the behind the scenes with like digital media content and shit. So like he went on and did some shit. Nykirk was another one. Hollywood Yates was another one. Shout out to him. He went on and did American Gladiator shit as well. So a lot of the guys early on in my career really, you know, helped me along the process of understanding the wrestling business. You know what I mean? And I have much appreciation for those guys, because if it wasn't for those guys, I don't think I'd be here talking about it on this podcast right now.
Absolutely, you gotta show fucking respect to those that got you to where you were.
Yep.
We're about halfway through this episode, so let's go on with how you train. All right, Bryce Slavin, a fresh new class of recruits came in, and they want to know, how do you become a pro wrestler? What do you tell them? What do you do to them? What's going on?
So for me personally, this is how I would handle it, right? If I have my own wrestling school and I open it up day one and I have a class of 20 recruits that come in, right? I'm going to sit each one of them down in a circle and I'm explaining to them what they're about to get themselves into, what they should expect and what they should not expect. Those are key things, okay? I need to know your body style. I need to know your athletic background, if any at all. I need to know if you're understanding what you're about to undertake, because it's physical. It's not ballet, it's physical. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I need to know all this stuff. You know, is your body well enough prepared to go through the excruciating agony that you're about to enter yourself into? You know what I mean? Once I find out that you're physically and mentally capable of understanding all of this, then we're all going to get in the ring. Okay. We're all going to line up and I'm going to demonstrate for you a flat back bump. I'm going to demonstrate for you a front flip bump. I'm going to demonstrate to you how to hit the ropes. And I'm going to do it all individually broken down. I'm going to have, let's say we have a class of 20. I'm going to take groups of 4 people each, 5 people each. We're all going to sit around and I'm going to have hopefully somebody with me that has done wrestling as well as long as I have or longer to have a partner to demonstrate with. And I'm going to show you how to do all these things. I'm going to show you how to back bump. I'm going to show you how to front bump. I'm going to show you how to hit the ropes. Then we're all going to do it together. I'm going to have you demonstrate that you can do this to me as well. You can hit the ropes. You can take a back bump. Once you show me all that, then we'll move on to the rolls. From the rolls, then we'll move on to some more bumping, and then more bumping, and then more bumping. And then we'll move on to some of the more graduated stuff, the lockups, the headlocks, all the stuff that goes with it from there. But the first and foremost is you have to understand how to bump properly without hurting yourself and hurting the people next to you.
So my next question, you kind of touched on, what technique is the most important thing to learn?
Oh, that's a good question, man. The technique that's best learned is, I would say, patience, and not only patience, but just overall understanding of what is being shown to you, what's being demonstrated to you. You know what I mean? You might watch, like I was saying earlier on this podcast, you might watch wrestling on a weekly, nightly, daily basis, whatever it is, but it's not until you firsthand do something that you understand why that was being done that certain way.
Hmm.
So having patience and understanding what's being shown to you and how and why it's being shown to you in a certain particular way is key, so you can build from that and then move on to bigger and better things in your training.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. In your when you started training, was it kind of brought onto you, or did you want to do it?
Um, at first, I didn't really give two thoughts about being a trainer. It wasn't until I got in the ring with guys that were not good, that should never have been in the ring with me, that I said, who's training these guys and how the hell are they moving on to the next steps of training? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And then I started, going out of my own way to working with some of the younger guys that were coming up and just showing them some one-off things here and there. And then back in my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe, I should maybe take on this role as a trainer. And then I would have other guys that come up to me too, and some promoters, owners of the companies, say, "Hey, can I bring you in for a session on the weekend? Hey, do you want to become a trainer?" And it kind of snowballed from there. But it wasn't until that I was in the ring with some of these guys that I was like, "You guys weren't taught shit. Like, you guys are not
Yeah,
good."
right, right. What were some of the things that they were doing in the ring that you're like, nah, something needs to change?
Just being stiff for no reason. You know what I mean? Like straight up from a straight simple lockup, right? Left hand goes on the back of your opponent's head. Your right hand goes on their arm like this. So it's a lockup, right? I'd have guys that I got in the ring with that would like just snatch you and just start shaking the fuck out of you. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? I would have guys that when they put their hand on your arm from a lockup, they'd hit it so hard that your arm would go down. You would have
What
handprints
the
like, dude, I
fuck?
just got chopped in my fucking arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was little stuff like that. And then, of course, the punches and the kicks. These guys wouldn't know how to pull their punches. They would flat out deck you right in the chin or give you a forearm right to the fucking side of the head and bust your fucking eardrum. And it's like, what
right.
are we doing? Like, who
Yeah,
taught you guys? You know what I mean? So it
right.
was stuff like that. Like, the little stuff that makes me think, like, you guys should not be in this match right now. Like, you're not graduated enough to be where you're at right now. Like, let's take a step
Right.
back.
When you're training, when you're looking at all these, brand new people and they're starting to, take the bumps, they're starting to kind of put together like a match. Did you already like pinpoint who you knew was going to make it?
Yep. 100%. You know that right off the bat, especially when you're seasoned in this business and you've been doing it for quite a while. Right off the bat, from the very first time they take their very first bump to when they take their very first time hitting the ropes, you kind of have a general understanding of who's going to make it and who's not. There are some dark horses out there that start off slow but pick it up towards the end and really get it. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to know, at least if not by the first session, the first couple of weeks, you're like, yeah, this isn't for you.
Yeah,
Maybe you should be a referee. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. Um, what's the timeline of training? Like how long should you be training until you think is good enough to be booked on a show?
So I would say this: if you are green and you've never done anything pro wrestling related before, and it's your very first day in camp, I would say a good 3 month every day. Let's say that you train 3 days out of the week, right? Let's say a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday every week, right? For 3 months. What you're going to do is from that very first day until that very last day of your training of your beginner's course, right? You're going to demonstrate to me or any trainer that you understand the basics of a roll, of a lockup, of a bump, of a headlock takeover, of running the ropes. You're going to demonstrate to me that you understand this. And then from there, you're going to graduate onto intermediate class, right? Which is where you take the step up of learning different, material of what to do in the ring. But before you even graduate to intermediate, I want you to give me a 5 minute match of doing nothing but all the basics that you've been taught. Give me everything that you've been taught, basic wise. Do
Yeah.
not body slam. Do not power bomb. Do not pile drive. Do not DDT. Do not do a tope suicida. Don't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
Show me what you've learned in these first month, 2 months. You know what I mean? Show me what you've learned and demonstrate that you understand the basics. Then when you do that, I can graduate you onto intermediate. Same thing
Hmm.
goes for intermediate. Those are some of the more high impact stuff, right? You do some of the bigger body slams. Yeah, you're going to learn body slams and suplexes in beginner, but that comes later on. In intermediate, you're going to learn some of the more higher spots. You're going to learn some of the more double downs. You're going to learn some of these more other bigger things, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing there too. Before you graduate from there and go to uh, expert, let's say, class, right? Or somebody who's graduated a beyond beginner and intermediate, then from there you can start putting together some matches. Give me a good 10-minute, 12-minute match. Show me what you've learned so far. It's not until you demonstrate to me in training that you understand the fundamentals, the basics, and what to do and not to do's. Once you show me that and you prove
Mhm.
to me that you understand what it is that you're doing in this ring, will I even consider booking you on an actual show for the first time
Yeah.
ever? And once you do get booked on that show, you best believe you're going to be one of the first one or two matches on that card.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Was there ever a time when someone, you were like, I can see potential in them and they're having a really hard time and you had to like sit with them and calm them down and like explain to them like
Oh yeah.
you're too much in your fucking head right now.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it on multiple fronts. I've seen it where guys and girls would come in, and they were really good. They clicked, right? They understood everything. They picked up everything really fast. But it wasn't until they got to some of those bigger bumps, some of the different suplexes, some of the different whatevers that they were kind of hesitant on doing. And it's just like, okay, let me show you instead of having your opponent or another trainee do it with you. Let me
Yeah.
show you how it's done. Let me break it down for you, and then we'll go from there. Um, Believe it or not, though, more times than not, I've seen it to where guys and girls get everything as far as the physicality wise goes, but
Yeah.
to try to get any sort of personality out of them was
Mm,
the hardest thing to do
yeah.
sometimes, man. That's the other aspect of training as well. You can learn all the moves all day long. You can be one of the best technical wrestlers out there. But if you don't have a personality, no one's going to connect with you. No one's going to click
Right.
with you. Some of my personal favorite wrestlers, technical wrestlers, are phenomenal in the ring workers, but their character and lack of charisma fucking killed them before they could ever fucking bloom and do bigger things in the sport. You know what I mean? So it's a two-way street.
Yep. Right. Yeah, I mean fucking you look at Kurt Angle, he was probably the only exception that kind of created his own character. you know?
Kurt Angle was a freak. Is a freak.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
dude is a fucking cyborg.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck, dude. He caught on so fucking quick,
He
and it
did, and he
just
was scared out of the business at first too, because his first ever like introduction to the business was actually ECW, and he saw what
mm,
they were doing in ECW. He was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking out of here." And it
no,
wasn't until
yeah,
like a year or two later that he got signed on by WWF to go and work at their training camps. That he was like, "Okay, now I can actually do this." You know what I mean?
right.
But yeah, talk about somebody who caught on so fast, so quick, and had a fucking charisma and a character right off the bat. Man, Kurt Angle was a fucking freak, dude, in a good way.
He was. Yeah, he learned that shit fucking quick. Just kind of goes back to what I was asking you. What was? Do you have like a favorite student?
Um, favorite student. I mean, there's a couple of them that stand out. The ones that I can remember. It's been so long now, but
Yeah.
there are a few that stand out for good and bad reasons. As far as like a favorite student goes, I wouldn't say I really had a favorite student. I just always appreciated the guys and girls that shut their mouths, got in the ring, listened, and showed me what I was demonstrating to them in the correct way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't stress enough, when I took a little bit of a time away from the business and I got back into it, and I was approached to be a head trainer for a company that I worked at. And my first day as their new head trainer, and I get in the ring and I get this kid that walks up to me. He was like, "Hey, Slavin, what's the ins and outs of doing a DDT?" You know, and it's like, first of all, I don't know you. I don't know your history in wrestling. Sorry, I just don't. So, uh, do you know what a headlock is? Do you know what a lockup is? Show it to me. And his
Yeah.
fucking lockup was the most piss poor fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And I looked him dead in the eye and I was dead serious with him. I was like, if you ever come to me and ask me how to do a DDT again and you don't know how to apply a proper lockup, you're in the
Yeah.
wrong business, brother.
Right.
Learn that shit first, then come back to me.
Yep. Yep. Um, is that needless to say that was the worst student you had?
He was up there. There was a few of them. There's a few prima donnas too that came in, thought their shit didn't stink. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they did certain drills or whatnot, and they didn't want anybody to look at them, and they wanted to like turn your back to them as they were doing their pre workouts, whatever. It's like, get the fuck out of here. We ain't got time for this
Right.
shit. You know what I mean? We're all supposed to be adults, and this motherfucker act like one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you're starting out in beginner class with the rest of beginners, or you got a little bit of experience in another territory somewhere else, and you're coming in here as an intermediate, don't come in here with that prima donna bullshit, dude, because that's the first thing that's going to get you fucking canceled, dude, is that prima donna bullshit. Can't stand
Right.
it.
Yep. Yep. Um, let's jump back real quick to promos. Let's say everyone has it in the ring, they can fucking do all the shit, right? But their ability to have a character, to have a personality, and to cut a promo is very, very, very fucking weak. How do you help them get out of their head and to show more?
First of all, you got to get rid of that stage fright. You got to get rid of talking in front of a camera or talking in front of an audience.
Hmm.
99.9% of the people that go through a wrestling school has never ever talked or done anything in front of an audience in any capacity whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that you got to understand. Then what I want you to do is I want you to get in this headspace, okay? Whether it's right or wrong at this point in time, what I'm about to say right now does not matter. Give me a character, any character. I don't care if you're talking like this in your promo, or if you're talking like this and oh my God, you're all loud and shit. Give me something. Show me
Yeah.
something, okay? But once you have that in your head of what this character that you have in your mind is, talk about that character to me. Give it to me in a way that you're selling me on this character. You know what I mean? Give it to me in a way where I'm going to believe what you're telling me. You believe it. You know what I mean? You believe your own hype. You believe your own bullshit. Sell it to me. I want to buy. I have money to spend. I want to buy. Sell it to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I always told the guys and girls a good promo is something that you believe in and it's something that is true. So I broke it down like this. So and so, let's just say that your name is JJ, right? JJ, Saturday night, you're going to take on AJ. So JJ and AJ, right? JJ, tell it to me like this. It's Saturday night. You're wrestling. It's going to be at this place at this time. Sell it to me. Why should I get off my ass at home, come down, buy a ticket, go to the show to watch you wrestle? Sell it to me, brother. You know what I mean? And then I want you to be like, well, me and AJ, we came up together. We were two guys that were coming up the road together. We cut our teeth together. But I tell you what, that son of a bitch stabbed me in the back one too many times. And come this Saturday night at this place at this time, AJ, I'm coming for you, brother. You know what I mean? Build it up, give it to me, sell it to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Make me believe what you're delivering so I can buy in to this whole theatrics that's going on around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just take your time. Don't overrush it. A lot of people get I'm gonna get in this ring and I'm gonna beat you up and I'm gonna do it so fast. And it's like, now you're talking too fast. Slow it
Right.
down. But then you can
Yeah.
get the guys in the ring like, I'm gonna wrestle tomorrow and you and me are we're gonna fight. Like, no, bro, be natural with it, man. Show me some
Yeah.
character. Show me some emotion. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll tell you what though, doing promos is some of the hardest shit. But those were some of my funnest classes to teach. Was
Yeah.
promo class, dude. I fucking loved it.
Why?
Just the raw emotion of it, man. You know what I mean? Because
Mm,
you can get in the ring with anybody, whether they have an athletic background or not, and teach them how to bump and all that. But it's like when you start to have fun with it, now that you've understood wrestling a little bit and how
yeah.
stupid all this shit is, really. And
Right.
now you get a microphone in front of you, and now you're cutting a promo. I mean, some of the more hilarious moments will come out. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have that diamond in the rough that they didn't even think they had that in them to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they might have seen, guy one and guy two ahead of them start doing these promos, and now they're starting to think in their head of like, what can I do? And now they've bust out with the promo that they never even thought they had in them. You know what I
Right.
mean? But to
Yeah.
me, hence why we do a fucking podcast. To me, put a microphone in my hand, put a camera in front of me. I'm fucking game on, dude. I'm at home. I'm at peace. I'm a
Yeah.
fucking entertainer. You know what I mean?
Right.
For some people, it's harder to pull out. It is.
Yep.
But for me, man, it's a fucking natural. I don't know where it came from because I didn't grow up in the fucking household of entertainers by
I
any
know,
stretch of
right?
the imagination. But I just fucking love it. I'm a gifted fucking entertainer, I guess. You know what I mean?
Oh man, they're entertaining something, all right.
Ah!
You know, going through the list, I think you fucking touched on everything, dude. You touched on where you came from, how you started. You touched on how you trained your stories between. I think the only thing left to say is, man, give these people some advice of what the fuck they're doing and if they even should be doing this.
I will say without naming companies, because again, who am I? Somebody who spent some time in the business, never really made it to the top, never was on big time TV, smaller TV, sure, but never big time TV. Worked a lot of Hall of Fames, been a lot of Hall of Famers, wrestled a lot of Hall of Fame camps. Somebody like me who understands what the business is and what to do and what not to do. There's some guys I see on TV in some of the bigger companies that I've heard horror stories from that don't listen to the veterans, that won't take advice, think that their shit don't stink. Then you watch them in the ring and they're a one trick pony and they can only do so much and they can't do others. You know what I mean? They struggle at a promo, but they can do a great flip. They can do a great promo, but they can't do a great flip. You know what I mean? It's like pro wrestling should be a full understanding of everything, of every aspect of it. You know what I mean? Ric Flair, one of the greatest workers of all time in that ring, one of the greatest characters of all time, could talk his ass off, could sell you a ticket to bring your ass to that arena to watch him get his ass beat.
Yep.
Shawn Michaels, same fucking way. Hulk Hogan, same way. You know what I mean? You have to have a full understanding of this business and not just one aspect of it. It's a demanding, it's a stressful business. It's not for everybody, but it takes someone with a lot of something inside of them to want to put forth the time, effort, and energy to understand all encompassing aspects of this business to make it work, especially when you're on fucking television.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on television, because now you've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of eyeballs on you, and you're exposed right off the bat if you don't know all encompassing of what you're doing. And a
Right.
lot of these guys do get exposed to that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's easier now to find a school that will teach you and take the time to teach you. Because I
Yeah.
think it doesn't matter what state you're in, there's someone in that state that has either been somebody or knows somebody or has been doing it for a long time. Because now it's fucking everywhere now.
Yeah, social media has a lot to do with that now too. A lot more things are out in the open, a lot more things are talked about, a lot more things are exposed. To
Mm-hmm.
whereas I was coming into the business 25 years ago or so, um, there wasn't any of that. You know what I mean? You didn't know where anything was unless it was advertised on a flyer or you were told to by somebody that was on the inside. You didn't know shit from fuck. But
Yeah.
nowadays with social media and everything so wide open, it's a lot easier to find a wrestling school. It's a lot easier to get taught how to, get in the wrestling business, and it's a lot easier to get shown the wrong way of how to get in the
Mm-hmm.
wrestling business as well, which we've seen.
Yep. Yep. Well, Bryce Slavin, where can people find you? We keep talking about you, but I don't think they've ever seen you in the ring. They have never seen you looked like 10 years ago when you're in the ring? Like where
Yeah,
where
I used
where
to
can
have
they find
social
you?
media challenge or social media challenges, social media channels. I used
Yeah,
to have those, but those are all pretty much shut down. If you do type in Bryce Slavin, Bryceslavin, if you do type that in on YouTube, you'll find a lot of older clips that were posted from promos and matches and shit that I've had in the past.
yeah,
There's quite a few stuff still on YouTube that you can look up and find. But if any promoters out there, any independent, smaller promoters, or guys that are looking into getting the business, hit us up here on X, on Instagram, and shoot me a message, and I'll do my best to get in touch with you again. I got a lot of love still for the business, and there's a lot of things that I would love to get back to the business, and I'd be more than willing to help out in some capacity if case ever came up. But yeah, just pretty much just find me here on X and Wrestling right here on this podcast, man. Riffs Rasslin.
awesome, man. Well, I think this was a great one again. We keep talking about some very deep stuff in wrestling, and not just about your knowledge, but I think it also helps people understand a little bit better of not just this grand stage of WWE, but more of like how it really is when you're not in a big place like WWE, which majority of people are not. And if you're wanting to become a wrestler, there's a lot of shit that we've been talking about that you have to kind of overcome and face.
If you're getting into this business thinking that you're going to be the next John Cena, the next Batista, the next The Rock, and you're going to move on to Hollywood and you're going to do all this and that, get the fuck out. This is not the business for you. This business will chew you up and spit you out as it should.
Yep.
You got to come into this business loving what we do. You got to get into this business understanding what we do, having an appreciation for what we do. Um, you know, grinding the fucking roads, man, and paying your dues and shutting the fuck up and understanding the guys and girls that came before you and prove your worth. Prove to us and yourself that you belong to be in this business, that you belong to be in the ring that so many greats have been in the past. And if you're thinking that you're going to do this for fame, glory, and fortune, you've already fucking shot yourself in the foot, dude. This is not the business for you.
Yep, and I think that goes with just about everything, dude. If you go into something and it's, let's say it's your passion or your love, or you're going into something because you're good at it and you're just doing it for money or fame, it's never going to work out for you. It's
Nope.
not.
Nope. You got to put the blood, the sweat, the tears, the time in. You got to pay your dues, man. You got to grind them gears. You got to do what you got to do, brother, to get yourself in some sort of a capacity. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, thank you to everybody out there who watched and listened to the last episode that we put out, because that has been the biggest, as far as listener and viewership goes, episode that we've done since we've been doing this podcast. And we didn't get into this from episode one saying, oh, look, we're going to, be the next great big podcasters out there and all that bullshit. This is
Yep.
just a show for us to, entertain ourselves and hopefully entertain the audience that tunes in and listens. You know what I mean? But we are humbled enough and grateful enough that our last video that we put out has done so well compared to some of the other ones that we've done. And that's the kind of attitude that you got to have when you get into the wrestling business too, is be humble, man.
Right.
Understanding that you're at the beginning stages. You're not going to train 1 week and next week you're going to main event WrestleMania. That's not how this fucking shit works. That's not how
Yep.
anything of any of this works. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to pay your dues, man. You got to respect what you're doing and have the love and energy and the time to put into it.
I love it, man. Well, fucking Slavin, I appreciate you taking the time again to come out and explain to everybody your background and your experience. It's been a great time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it too. I'm still sore as shit every day that I wake up from the years that I spent in the wrestling business. But you know what? Hey, I fucking loved it. And I still love the business. So it is what it is.
Damn right. Well, thank you all for tuning in once again to another episode of Rips and Rasslin. And we still have a lot more in the queue to bring to you all. So please be sure to go to X, go to Instagram, follow us there at Riffs and Rasslin. You'll find all the updates on there. Also, subscribe here. You'll see the clips, you'll see the fucking videos. You can't miss it. And yeah, I appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you all, you guys too, man. And if you tune in on the shorts, watch the full format. If you've watched the full format, please tune into the shorts, man. It's a big 360 in here, dude. So we appreciate all of y'all that tune in, man, from the bottom of our hearts. We truly do appreciate it, and we hope you stay along for the rest of the ride, man, with us.
Sounds great. Well, y'all have a great night. Peace out.
Peace, fuckers.